Hello, Leo. What if today isn't just another day? What if this is the moment your entire life starts shifting, and you're finally free from the burdens that were never yours? Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness, your sacred digital sanctuary for astrology, transformation, and divine guidance. If you're here between May 6th and May 12th, I want you to know, this isn't random. The universe doesn't work by chance, it aligns by frequency. And your frequency, right now, is calling in something massive. The jackpot is here. But not the kind that simply lands in your bank account, though that's on the table too. I'm talking about the kind of jackpot that brings peace to your nervous system, purpose to your path, and power back into your hands. Let me ask you something, Leo. Have you been carrying more than your share lately? Have you mistaken being useful for being worthy? And what if this is the week you finally say, that's enough? I choose me. Because this week, you're not just stepping into abundance. You're stepping into liberation. It starts with releasing the weight that was never yours, the expectations, emotional labor, generational pressure, roles you were never meant to play. This is what I call soul decluttering. And once you do, that's when joy, clarity, and yes, wealth, start flowing. And no, this message didn't just show up in your feed by chance. You're watching this because the universe is confirming what your soul has been whispering for weeks. You're ready now. And before we dive deeper into this cosmic reading that could shift everything, allow me to take a sacred pause. To thank you. Thank you for being here. For bringing your energy. For every like you've tapped, every comment you've left, every time you've subscribed or shared one of these readings. You're not just supporting this channel. You're co-creating a healing space for thousands of souls around the world. So truly, from my heart to yours, thank you. Your energy, your intention, your presence here makes this channel what it is. And it allows Eternal Mindfulness to keep showing up with powerful, soul-shifting guidance like this. And trust me, Leo, you'll want to stay until the very end today. Because what the universe is about to reveal, it's not just accurate. It's affirming. It's healing. It's a divine reminder that you are not here to carry everyone else's weight. You are here to rise. So before we begin, drop the angel number that's been following you lately in the comments. Maybe it's 111, 444, 888. That's your sign. That's your breadcrumb. That's your confirmation. The jackpot is already circling your energy. Now, let's open the gate and receive it. When the Ace of Cups appears as the guiding light of your reading, it signals something more than just a new beginning. It invites a gentle unraveling of all the tightly held emotions you've kept buried beneath the surface. For someone like you, Leo, who shines so naturally in the outside world, it can be easy to forget that the heart, too, needs tending. This card whispers softly to the soul, not to be stronger or louder, but to be still enough to listen to what you've been quietly carrying all along. In this moment of emotional awakening, it's not about striving for something outside yourself, but about remembering the source within. This is the inner cup that overflows when you choose to stop forcing, stop pleasing, and simply allow what is already true in your heart to rise. The kind of love that the Ace of Cups speaks of isn't grand or dramatic, it's the quiet kind. The kind that sits with your pain without fixing it. The kind that lets you cry without asking why. The kind that sees your strength, but honors your softness just as much. There is a beautiful teaching in the natural world: rivers don't force themselves to flow. They find their way by yielding to the path before them. And so too, your emotions this week are not obstacles, but currents, meant to move through you, not define you. If you've been holding on tightly to sorrow, to guilt, or even to a version of yourself that no longer fits, now is the time to let the water move. Let it cleanse. Let it carry away what no longer belongs. You may begin to notice that much of what you felt responsible for, others' happiness, unspoken expectations, emotional baggage handed down or projected onto you, was never really yours. This realization isn't about blame. It's about clarity. You are not the keeper of everyone's healing. You are not a container for their chaos. The act of releasing that weight is not selfish, it's sacred. Creating emotional boundaries isn't a wall, it's a kindness. It allows your heart to remain open without being overwhelmed. It gives you the space to feel fully without drowning in what isn't yours. And most importantly, it lets your energy return to its rightful home, within you. From this center, love flows not out of duty, but from overflow. You might want to try a simple practice today. Pour yourself a glass of clean water, hold it with both hands, and whisper softly, "I open my heart to receive love without condition." Then drink slowly, as if each sip is clearing out a space inside you. Afterward, take a pen and write down 3 things, no matter how small, that made you feel a little lighter today. A quiet morning. A smile. A moment where you remembered your own worth. This isn't about erasing your feelings. It's about honoring them with the same grace you offer others. Your emotions are not mistakes. They are messages. And when you allow them to flow freely, without judgment, without armor, you create the space for healing to arrive. Not as something you must chase, but as something that was always meant to return. So as you move forward this week, remember, your heart doesn't need fixing. It needs space. And when you give it that, when you stop clinging, stop explaining, and just let yourself be, you'll see that the miracle isn't out there waiting for you. It's already blooming, quietly, from within. We often think of wealth as something we must chase, a number in a bank account, a milestone we measure ourselves against, or a symbol that will finally validate all the effort we've poured into proving ourselves. But when the 10 of Pentacles appears in your reading, especially following a moment of emotional awakening like the Ace of Cups, it offers a quiet but profound shift in perspective. It reminds us that real wealth is not something we acquire, it's something we anchor. This card speaks of legacy, grounding, and long-term security. But for you, Leo, it's not just about building an empire, it's about realizing that you already are one. The energetic essence of the 10 of Pentacles isn't hustle. It's integration. It's the knowing that when your inner world is in harmony, your outer world begins to reflect that truth. No more chasing, no more overextending yourself just to feel seen. The universe is guiding you now into a space where you don't have to prove your worth through productivity. You simply allow your value to be visible through presence. You may begin to notice that true stability starts when you make peace with the silence, when you stop measuring your worth by how much you can achieve in a day, and instead focus on how deeply you can support your own being. The old narrative told you that to be worthy of abundance, you had to exhaust yourself. But something inside you, that quiet wisdom you've been cultivating, knows better now. That wisdom is what's building your real foundation. And so this card gently challenges you to redefine your relationship with money. Not as something you chase, but something you honor. Not as a measure of success, but as a current of energy you can work with, a tool for nourishment, not performance. When money is used to sustain, support, and create a sense of grounded joy, it becomes a natural extension of your authenticity, not a substitute for it. In practical terms, this may be the week to gently restructure your finances. Not from a place of anxiety, but from a place of curiosity. Where is your energy going? Are you spending to impress, or are you spending to invest in peace, in presence, in purpose? You might try a 7-day check-in, simply dividing your expenses into 4 sacred categories: essentials, investments, savings, and joy. Yes, joy. Because your well-being is not optional, it's the soil from which all true abundance grows. The colors green and gold are especially powerful during this process. Green, awakening the heart, calling in generosity, harmony, and compassion toward yourself. Gold, activating your solar plexus, your center of confidence, decision-making, and self-respect. These aren't just colors. They are energetic reminders that wealth is a vibration. And the more aligned your energy becomes with gratitude, clarity, and inner truth, the more effortlessly it flows into your life. You're not being asked to sacrifice anymore. You're being invited to choose wisely, to choose lovingly, to choose from a space of alignment. And that means letting go of the outdated belief that your value increases only when you do more. Sometimes, your value is most radiant when you do less, and feel more. Because true wealth is never frantic. It's never rushed. It's never desperate. It's calm. It's certain. It's whole. And when you choose to build from this place, what you create doesn't just last. It nourishes you, and everyone around you, for generations. Following the grounded wisdom of the 10 of Pentacles, the arrival of the Queen of Wands in your reading calls something bold and undeniable to the surface, a radiant, magnetic truth you may have once tried to soften or hide. This card doesn't whisper. It stands tall. It reminds you that your presence alone is enough to shift a room, to turn momentum in your favor, and to light a path others couldn't see without you. But this isn't about ego. True confidence never shouts. It doesn't need to. And neither do you, Leo. The Queen of Wands carries a fire that warms, not scorches. One that says, I know who I am, and I don't need permission to be her. For someone with your natural brilliance, this card is not just a reflection. It's a call to embody your full self again, the parts you've muted to keep others comfortable, the passions you've postponed out of politeness, the energy you've suppressed just to belong. You may have been told, directly or subtly, that you were too much. Too loud. Too expressive. Too intense. But what they called too much was really just too alive for those who hadn't yet met themselves. This week, you are being asked to stop trimming yourself to fit into frames that were never built for your shape. You weren't meant to be manageable, you were meant to be magnetic. There is a quiet wisdom in learning when to conserve your energy and when to expand it. The Queen of Wands doesn't seek validation, she chooses alignment. And that's the energy available to you now. In your relationships, in your work, even in how you move through your day, you're being invited to notice what feels like flow, and what feels like friction. What uplifts you, and what subtly drains you, asks you to tone yourself down, or second-guess your instincts. Letting go of these dynamics is not cruelty. It is clarity. It is the recognition that real connection never requires self-abandonment. And true leadership, the kind you're naturally wired for, begins with the courage to fully inhabit your own light, even when others don't understand it. Especially when they don't. One of the simplest but most profound practices you can begin this week is looking at yourself in the mirror each morning and affirming, with your eyes steady and your heart soft, I attract goodness because I am worthy. Let the repetition of this truth plant seeds in your subconscious. Let it speak louder than old narratives of unworthiness. And from there, choose one piece, a garment, an accessory, a color, that makes you feel alive in your skin. Wear it not for anyone else's eyes, but as an embodied declaration, I'm here. I'm not hiding. Your aura doesn't need to apologize for its warmth. In fact, there are people out there right now waiting for someone like you to simply be visible, so they, too, can find the courage to step into their light. You don't need to explain your glow, Leo. You just need to let it be. When you no longer dim yourself for others, something beautiful happens. Your life reorganizes itself around truth. The right people stay. The right opportunities appear. The right timing unfolds. And you begin to feel, not just powerful, but free. Because the light you carry was never meant to compete with anyone else's. It was meant to remind others of their own. After reconnecting with your light through the energy of the Queen of Wands, you now arrive at a quieter, deeper terrain, one that may feel more fragile, yet is equally powerful. The Five of Cups doesn't come to break you. It comes to show you what's already broken, and how choosing to see it clearly can be the most liberating act of all. This card often appears when you're ready to shift your story from one of regret to one of reclamation, from, why did this happen to me, to, because of this, I now know who I am. There's an honesty in sorrow that success rarely offers. When disappointment cracks something open in us, whether it's a lost relationship, a missed opportunity, or simply the realization that we've outgrown a path we once held sacred, it leaves behind a space. That space can feel hollow at first, but it's not emptiness. It's readiness. A readiness to finally tell the truth to yourself, without distortion. A readiness to stop clinging to what couldn't stay, and begin tending to what still lives inside you. The Five of Cups asks you to stand still for a moment and examine the weight you've been carrying, not with shame, but with gentleness. There may have been times when you trusted someone who couldn't meet you where you stood. Or moments when you shaped yourself around a version of life that ultimately fell apart. These aren't failures. They are mirrors. And now, instead of turning away from the reflection, you're being invited to look deeper. To see the strength that remained. The wisdom that formed. The parts of you that refused to be extinguished, even in grief. Forgiveness is the quiet revolution behind this card. Not the kind of forgiveness that erases or excuses, but the kind that sets you free. The kind that says, I no longer need to carry the story of that wound in every step I take. You don't owe your pain an eternal home. You owe yourself permission to stop reliving it. A simple but powerful practice right now is to write down 5 things you've forgiven yourself for, or are ready to. Let it be messy. Let it be real. Each word is a thread you loosen from the knot you've tied inside. At the same time, there's a quiet act of courage in acknowledging who no longer belongs in your energetic field. This isn't about blame. It's about bandwidth. Your life force is precious, and it's okay to reclaim it from places that no longer honor it. Imagine holding a list in your mind, a list of people, situations, old narratives. And one by one, gently but clearly, cross out what you no longer wish to carry. Let it go with grace. Let it go with the silent understanding that your healing doesn't need to be witnessed to be real. And then, look up. In every depiction of this card, while 3 cups have spilled, 2 remain full. That's not an accident. It's a reminder that loss does not cancel what's still yours. And what's still yours, Leo, is everything that truly matters. Your capacity to love, your ability to rise, your inner light that no setback can dim. That's your cup still full. That's what you return to now. The practice of letting go isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like taking a deep breath and realizing you don't need to fight the past anymore. You don't need to fix it. You only need to stop letting it define you. You are not what you lost. You are what you kept. You are what grew in the aftermath. And that, in itself, is a kind of quiet miracle. After shedding old narratives and reclaiming your emotional truth, a new landscape begins to open in front of you, one that doesn't demand anything from the past, but instead asks a single question: what now? The appearance of the Fool, the Magician, and the Empress is not a coincidence. It's a cosmic sequence, pointing toward a rebirth of purpose, creativity, and inner authority. You're not just healing anymore. You're rebuilding. But this time, not from who you were, or who the world told you to be, but from who you've quietly known you truly are. The Fool invites you to return to your essence, the untouched, unshaped part of you that exists beneath all the layers of identity. This energy isn't naive. It's pure. It's what we glimpse in moments of real presence, when we watch the sunrise, when we start something for the first time, when we act not from fear, but from freedom. To embody the Fool is to say yes to life again, not because you have it all figured out, but because you finally trust the wisdom within to guide your steps as they unfold. Then comes the Magician, reminding you that you are never without tools. You are not empty. You are not late. Everything you need, the focus of the mind, the direction of the will, the clarity of the heart, the grounding of the body, is already within reach. What's been dormant is now awakening. But it requires participation. Intention. A willingness to declare, even softly, I am ready to create from who I really am. You don't need external validation to begin. You only need to stop waiting for the right time, because it's here. The Empress seals this message with the energy of generative power. Not the power that dominates, but the one that nourishes. She doesn't push growth. She invites it, she tends to it, and she trusts in its timing. She knows that what is planted in honesty will bloom in integrity. And this is your invitation now, to see your life as a garden, and yourself as both the soil and the gardener. What you cultivate from this point forward must come from alignment, not performance. From listening to your own inner rhythm, not the noise of comparison. There is also something sacred happening beneath the surface. The presence of Uranus and the growth card signals a major energetic push, the kind that disrupts, but in doing so, liberates. Like an earthquake that splits open old structures, this energy doesn't destroy. It reveals. It clears space. It makes room for expansion beyond the known. You may feel urges now to shift directions, to question long-held dreams, to explore new paths that previously seemed out of reach. Follow that. It's not restlessness, it's awakening. A beautiful practice in this window of change is reconnecting with the roadmap of your life path number. Take a moment to explore the number that represents your soul's journey. It might point you toward hidden gifts or deeper understanding of your soul's curriculum. Not to box you in, but to affirm what already feels true inside. You might also light a simple white candle each morning, not as a ritual for outcome, but as a moment of inner commitment. Let each inhale be an opening. Let each exhale be a letting go. Whisper quietly to yourself, "May I live in alignment with my highest purpose." That's all. And let that become enough. Because this new chapter doesn't need perfection. It needs presence. It doesn't need all the answers, it just needs your willingness to begin again, not as the version of you shaped by survival, but as the version of you shaped by self-trust. This is the moment your map changes. Not because the world gave you permission, but because you finally gave it to yourself. You don't have to raise your voice to be heard. You don't have to win every battle to prove your worth. Leo, the most radiant light doesn't ask for permission to shine. It simply remembers where it belongs and takes up its place, quietly and powerfully. This week, the universe is whispering directly to you, you're ready. The jackpot isn't somewhere outside of you. It lives in your eyes, your voice, your choices, the ones you make right now. So let me ask you something, Leo, are you truly ready? Ready to release what no longer feels true, to make space for what finally does? Ready to be misunderstood, if it means living aligned? Ready to stop waiting and start becoming? Because if you are, then say it. Declare it. Type it into the comments below. I choose to live in the truth of my light. Or share the angel number that's been appearing around you lately, 111, 444, 777. Those are not coincidences. They are invitations. Confirmations. Quiet cosmic nods that a breakthrough is already circling your energy field. And if this message has found its way into your heart today, if it stirred something real inside you, thank you for being here. For choosing this moment. For choosing yourself. This space, this video, this community isn't just about forecasting your destiny, it's about reclaiming it from within. So please, like this video if it resonated. Share it with someone who may need this reminder. And don't forget to subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness, not just to stay connected, but to walk alongside others who are also choosing growth, freedom, and authentic power. Because this week, Leo, the jackpot isn't just money. It's peace. It's presence. It's the beautiful alignment between who you are and who you've always been meant to become. Now breathe. Place your hand over your heart. And know this. You never needed to prove anything. You only needed to choose. And the moment you do, everything changes.